You haven't hit. Oh.
And we are live with a brand new episode of the 13th Man Podcast. It's Shane alongside Frankie. As always, we have everything from the CFL to the NFL, Canadian content. How you doing today, Frankie?
I am all right.
I mean, after that dismal, heartbreaking loss to the Cardinals, I feel like that's appropriate.
Hey, thanks for reminding me there, Shane. I appreciate it. I had almost forgotten about it.
Oh, do you like my timing where I sent you a text literally right after it happened with the clip?
Shane, okay, let me explain something to you, okay? I take my sports very seriously.
Yeah, you were pissed.
I throw myself head over heels into my sports teams. Watching the Buffalo Bills lose that way, I thought I was going to break something. I was pissed.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you're not going to get any of that tonight. I'll tell you that much. It's the more and more that I've kind of looked at this, it's more like DeAndre Hopkins made a play. We're going to be fine,
Yeah, I mean, and I approved to, Murray did a really good job. I think it's clear that Murray, we've seen it from what? All the way from Aaron Rodgers and whatnot. It's just one of those plays.
Shane, one of our sticking points for this episode, though, of course, we're going to talk to Rod Pedersen about the CFL Sim, as well probably some about the Randy Ambrosie's Town Hall. So he's here. We'll let him in. We'll get this thing moving.
Yeah, guys. Well, let's welcome Rod from the Rod Pedersen Show. How you doing today, Rod?
Hey, guy, I'm all right if I can get this thing straightened out. How's that?
You're perfect.
Okay, good. So are you.
Man, I haven't heard compliments. How you doing?
I'm doing good. What are we talking about? NFL?
Well, we gotta talk about the CFL Sim that you guys have been doing. We got the Grey Cup Unite week, and we had Randy Ambrosie's little fan town hall meeting yesterday. And yeah, we'll talk some NFL. I know Frankie's the one who set it up, so I'm gonna let him kind of take control over it. He's the one who's been dealing with the Sim stuff. So Frankie, on to you.
Yeah, I mean, first things first, the Sim stuff. Are you impressed with the reaction that's gotten within the CFL community?
I am. I wish it had happened a little faster, but hey, better late than never. Because Frankie, we've been running this since week 1. I'm not sure if you knew or not. This has been going all year. So here we are in the final game, and I could tell you a million stories as to how we got here and what some of the players react. It hasn't all been positive. I guess is my point. Ottawa started 0-7, and their coaches were writing me going, "What are you doing, man? This is a joke." And some of their players. And I'm like, "Guys, hang on. I got faith in you." And lo and behold, they're in the Grey Cup, and now they think it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. How did this start? Sorry to interrupt, Frankie, but how did this Sim start?
Well, where are you guys at, by the way?
Ottawa.
Yeah,
okay,
we're both in Ottawa.
Okay, how did it start? The Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, way back at the start of the pandemic, came to me and said, "Rod, would you broadcast a simulated playoff for us? Because we need to find a way to deliver for our sponsors." And I said, "No, I'm not interested in doing that." So I thought it was dumb. So they started doing it, and all of a sudden they're getting thousands of viewers, and Hockey Night in Canada is tweeting about it, and CBC. And I'm like, maybe I am interested. And then they came back in the league final, and I did call it. And then when we were leaving the studio at the end of the last game, when they handed the trophy out, they were like, "Hey, wouldn't that be something if we did the CFL?" And I'm like, "There's no way the CFL would go for this." I mean, I'm in because it doesn't look like they're going to play, but I can't see them going for it. So we started it. And back to your original question, it took till week 15 that the CFL called and said, "We should talk about this." So we put some stuff down on paper. And they were good with it. They were watching it all along. But they said, "Let's just get a formal agreement here." And as you are, we love it. So, yeah, to answer your question, sorry, I forgot what the question was, but I get excited talking about it. That's how it started. Yeah.
Now, one of the things that impressed me when I'm watching, like you're into it. You know, it's not one of those things where you just kind of, this is the game, it's a video game, who cares? Like you're genuinely calling the game into it. Was that difficult for you to get into it or not?
No. Have you ever called a video game like
Never.
that?
Never.
You should try it, because I hadn't either. So it's something just overtakes you. And I would say if you were in that position, and hopefully one day you are, you would probably feel the same way. And the one thing, obviously you've seen it, you don't just get mentally transported to the stadium for 2 hours. Like, it just takes you out of this crap of pandemic. But when the guys are playing on the field in front of you and exciting things are happening, and if you're aware of what went on, a 12-on-12 brawl broke out this year at the end of regulation of a Calgary Rider game, with the injuries, big plays. I don't know. I've called 1,300 hockey games in my life and hundreds of football games. It doesn't really feel any different to me.
Yeah, I don't think I saw the brawl stuff.
Did you hear about? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about that, because like this has been an off and on thing that I've been kind of flipping my attention into, and then but now obviously the Red Blacks are going to the Grey Cup, so I'm kind of fully invested now.
Well, it was August, and I don't know if you're familiar with Canuck Play, the video game makers. Yeah, so David Winter, the founder of that company, we had him on the week after the brawl, and just so you know, it was Calgary at Saskatchewan, Friday Night Football. It was going to overtime. And when the clocks hit 0 on regulation, all of a sudden a brawl broke out. And it was like a 12-on-12 WWE. Guys were body slamming each other and suplexing each other. And I'm like, what is going on? I can send you the video if you want. It went on for like 5 full minutes. And I'm like, what is going on? And I've called several hockey brawls. It was, again, same thing. And then we were panicking, going, this doesn't look like it's going to end. Like, what? How does this end? And then it did. And then the next day, an executive at TSN wrote me, and he's like, man, I still have tears rolling down my cheeks about how funny that was in your call. And he goes, God bless you for keeping the CFL alive and in the public conscience with this. And so then we had David Winter on later in the week, and I'm like, David, what is up? How is there a brawl in your game? And he goes, it's a glitch. He's like, I got to look into it, but I'm not sure I want to take it out because there was so much reaction. It had like 10,000 views last I looked. So it was hilarious.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta find that.
I mean, it's realistic though. How many games, like how many high heated games do we watch every year where there's at least one brawl? Not 12-on-12 body slams, but like there's some pretty good scruffles and whatnot going on, like Ottawa Hamilton or Calgary Edmonton, where they're just full on hating each other.
I would invite you guys to tune in on Saturday, because it's not just about the game. I mean, with Facebook Live, which we broadcast it the same way that we do my show, fans are writing in during the game with their comments, like they're out of hot chocolate at the concession, or somebody's sitting in my seat, stuff like that. And there were some Red Blacks players. Richie Leone watches every game Ottawa plays. Marco Dubois tuned in for a couple of games, and they comment on that. And it's like when we were doing the hockey, the junior hockey players were writing in, like yelling at their coaches for matching them up against the wrong lines and stuff. Like, it's when the players become part of it, it goes to another level of entertainment. And to be honest, all we're doing is trying to entertain people, because there's not a whole lot else going on. So with the popularity of it, I just knew it was great from the start. It just took people probably longer than I would have liked to figure out what we were doing.
And I guess part of what makes it so popular too is like there's no CFL video game, right? If you want to do this yourself, you're spending time to make the logos, all customization. You got to make all the rosters yourself. So for you to have this kind of, even though it's a simulated season and in the grand scheme of things is going to end up meaning nothing once we get football back on the field, it's a great distraction for now.
That's exactly it. And I have to give a shout out to my guy, Nelson Hackowich. I didn't input those players. He did. He gave them all their ratings too, which I think if the players actually saw their ratings, they'd be complaining just like NFL players do with Madden. I didn't see the ratings, but more than anything, it's fun. And I should tell you this, the CFL, when we had that call in week 15, they said, yeah, they were okay with it. And it was a couple of weeks ago where they said, we'd like to partner with you with Grey Cup Unite because we'd like to have a game featured as part of Grey Cup Unite. So, that was really exciting too. So moving forward into 2021, I think we're going to go a little deeper with our partnership. And I don't know where it's going to go with a video game. I mean, we're on this conversation because we all love the CFL. We need more people loving the CFL because the only thing that I've heard why there isn't one is the video game. Well, Canuck Play feels there's enough people would buy it. Madden doesn't, or EA Sports doesn't. And we need to promote this league because I think the game with the 3 downs and the Rouge and everything else is a better game, frankly. So I hope that it happens. I don't know where that stands. I just know the CFL's interested now, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Is there anything that the winning team will get for winning this virtual Grey Cup? Is there anything you can give us in that aspect?
There's an interesting point to that. It's going to be streamed from the riders from the CFL's website, greycupunite.ca, and we only have a 90-minute block. That's it, maximum, to fit the game in. And most of our games run like an hour 45. So we're sitting there going, oh, what are we going to do? We can't have a pregame show like we normally do. We can't have a halftime show like we normally do. We run replays. We run commercial breaks. So we got to whittle everything down. And I said to our the production house that does our show, I said, can you guys do animation of a Randy Ambrosie karting out at Grey Cup, a cartoon? And they were going to do it. But just so you know, that's apparently not easy to do. So I guess we should probably come up with that. That's a good question, Shane. As we sit here, there isn't, but I guess we should probably come up with something. And just hope as time allows, hopefully we get it in that 90 minutes. Because our panic is that the 90 minutes are going to be up and there's 3 minutes left. And we got to say, bye-bye, come join us on Facebook Live. That the end of the game will be cut off. There's a very real chance that might happen.
Especially if there's overtime.
Oh, don't even...
Which, knowing the Ottawa Red Blacks, overtime is a very distinct possibility.
Well, I love that you know that so much about the Ottawa Red Blacks. If I can just say this, my mom, who's not with us anymore, when the Red Blacks got their team in 2014, my mom said, why are they getting a team again? They failed so many times with the Rough Riders and the Renegades. And I'm like, Mom, you should know, because she was a CFL fan. It's an unbelievable football town. Yeah. As you guys well know, it just, if you've had bad teams, at least you finally have a good one that you can be proud of.
Yeah, well, except for last year, we weren't really proud of that team. I'll say that.
3-15, I get it, but hey, with Arbuckle and Paul LaPolice, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And who was telling me they're going to try and get a hold of Arbuckle this week for a comment on being in the Sim Grey Cup? It was actually a buddy of Nick's from Calgary. He's gone pretty quiet since they had their baby. Have you noticed? Yeah. Nick's been pretty quiet, but
makes sense.
Yeah, you tend to get a little busy when that happens.
But he's been awesome. His wife has been awesome. Like the new slew of players that we've gotten has been fantastic, and I want to see it on the field next year. But that brings us to Randy Ambrosie's town hall, and I'm sure you talked about it on your show today, which I couldn't catch because I was in class. How do you feel about the essentially the strategy being, let's hope to God there's a vaccine?
I'm glad you asked, because I would like to think that I have a personal relationship with Randy. I've had a lot of one-on-one talks with him, or coffees with him or whatever. And I had him on the show today, and I said, Randy, I was disappointed because I was hoping you would say, we're going to play no matter what, even if there's no fans. And you didn't say that. Like, the reaction is that people think you're praying that there's going to be vaccines and we'll play. And he said, he goes, I get it. He didn't get mad. He goes, I was trying to portray a positive outlook, an optimistic outlook for 2021, that there'll be fans in the stands. He goes, but the fact is we are investigating all those scenarios. We're trying to be as flexible as possible. I mean, I don't know how big of hockey fans you guys are, junior hockey fans. I see the jerseys on the wall. Yeah. So you must, yeah. Well, those leagues have like 3, 4, 5 different scenarios for outbreaks and those that we, touch on wood, haven't happened yet. And it sounds like the CFL is doing the same thing. They've got contingency plans. Randy was basically, he's like, I'm not prepared to divulge that to the whole country right now. I'm like, well, that's fair. I kind of wish you'd said that, and he goes, well, I was just trying to, be positive and give that outlook. I said, well, you accomplished that. Headlines all across the country were optimism reigns supreme and Ambrosi address. But I said, for those of us that want to dig a little deeper, I was left a little wanting. And he said, I understand that, but that's why I took the approach that I took.
Hey, maybe you can get us in contact with someone who can get him on the show for us, because I have some questions I would like to ask for him, especially when it comes to the marketing that they plan, like the new marketing scheme.
What would you ask?
Well, Toronto just released they came back with the Boatman logo, and I think across the CFL, most people prefer that logo. But, how are we going to broaden not just the revenue, but, getting people interested in it? Most teams, at least in Ottawa, there's only one team store. There's really only one or two places you can really get Red Blacks merch. I'm not sure about in Saskatchewan. I've heard that you can get it almost in any store. But, for us, it's very, very minimal. And it's like, not everyone's going to go down to the arena for it. Not everyone's going to go to a big mall. So it's just about how do you broaden your reach to grab more fans, and how do you use the players that are in the communities. For us, it's a lot of, Jonathan Rose, Sherrod Baltimore, Alex Mateus, and they're very big people in the Ottawa community, and it's how you're using them to bring in more fans outside of just going to schools. Because, you can go to schools as much as you want, but kids don't have money. And if at that point, you have to reach the parents, and you have to reach the crowd that's probably like 15 to 18. And if you've been to Lansdowne, it's more of a bar scene, so a lot of drinks. Those kids aren't drinking, so how do you bring those guys in? I just want to know how they're going to attack that in markets like Montreal, Toronto, and BC, who have a very big nightlife. Like they're known for their nightlife.
Shane, I don't think he has an answer for that. I think we'd all like to know that, to be honest with you. But I mean, in the fall of 2017, we spent with the Riders, I think, 27 days in Ottawa. If you remember, we played the Red Blacks, then played Ottawa in the regular season back-to-back. So
Yep.
We were there for 2 weeks there. And then we came back out in the playoffs and played the Red Blacks in the Eastern semifinal, won, and went to Toronto for the East final.
We don't need to be reminded of that one, Rod. That one still stinks.
I'm sorry. Oh, I know. Marcus Thigpen, 175 yards rushing in that game. And 2 touchdowns, maybe 3. But what I noticed was there was probably more Red Blacks merch on the streets than Sens. Would I be right in saying that?
Right now, yeah. Even back then, like given the kind of state of the team when that happened, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Sens fans are still, iffy on Melnick. So Red Blacks, everyone seems to love Oseg. So when their CFL season, it kind of overtakes even early season hockey at this point.
Yeah. Well, they've got a lot of young people in the CFL office, and we are starting to deal with them now with the sim. And I think the popularity of it's opened their eyes to the gaming portion of what the CFL could do. But I'll give you a really good example. And I've been in business. I've owned a restaurant, owned my own company here in the media. You need to give, if people want your product, you need to make it easy to give it to them, right? And I don't know that the CFL is that open to that right now. And a great example is Juwan Breskison. Now he's with the Argos, but he'd been with the Stampeders. He watches the Sims and writes in too, but he's opened a Twitch channel. So he's gaming. People in the States are watching, and they're writing him going, where can we buy your Argos jersey? So Juwan openly tweeted at the Argos saying, how can these people in the States get my Argo jersey? And there was no response from the Argos at all. And I'm like, this is the exact thing that you're talking about, Shane. You're talking bars and restaurants. That's one thing. But to get to the young people and to make it impossible to buy your merch, that is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And that's the way things are right now.
Yeah. And like to that point, when I walk into the Red Black shop, I see a whole bunch of 67s jerseys with players' names on them. Hard pressed to find any. Since Henry Burris retired and Trevor Harris left, you'd be hard pressed to find any Red Blacks jerseys with names on them.
Wow. Where is that shop?
That is tucked right underneath the arena.
North side stands. And I mean, to be fair though, like for CFL jerseys, especially now, we don't, players come and go, and I can see why they're more hesitant on putting names on jerseys.
Yeah.
But realistically, like personally, I love getting a blank jersey, and just because I'm an O-lineman. I've played football for the last 13 years, offensive line. You can't buy an O-line jersey anywhere. It's very specific, either the quarterback, the star defensive end, or the star receiver.
Actually, you know what, Shane? The last Red Blacks jersey that I bought off the shelf was a John Gott jersey.
Yeah, but see, John Gott, though, that was in the area where John Gott was the man in Ottawa.
That's true.
He was the guy. And that's when they were pressing out jerseys for almost every single player. It was ridiculous. I would go into that store and there'd be 7 different jerseys with 7 different names on it. And you're like, this is a lot to choose from, plus the blanks.
Back when we saw that Brock Jensen jersey on the shelves.
Yeah. My thing, though, is Calgary was supposed to release a 75th anniversary edition jersey, and Ottawa was supposed to be releasing a red jersey. Wouldn't this be the perfect opportunity to do it? Just generate some kind of new revenue, kind of new interest, because the NHL just did it with their reverse retros, probably released them in retrospect probably earlier than they may have wanted to in terms of when the season was starting. But it creates revenue. Why hasn't the CFL done it? I feel like if you were the Stampeders or the Red Blacks, this would be perfect. Generate some interest. Everyone has their current jerseys, so give them something new. Christmas is around the corner. If you're a Stamps or a Red Blacks fan, new jersey, you're going to want that. People are going to buy it, especially if they're $120 for a blank.
I couldn't agree more. But the one thing with the CFL where we disagree is for instance, you've got me on your podcast here tonight. You should have somebody from the Red Blacks or the CFL. You know what I mean? They need to be far more open on interviews like this. And what I've heard in Ottawa is that all TSN 1200 talks about is sends. And Calgary, you mentioned Calgary a few times here, Fan 960 Calgary, the all sports station, it's even less stamps than what Ottawa radio devotes to the Red Blacks. And why that is, I'm not sure. Part of the reason our show's been so successful is we've felt our bread and butter is the CFL. Again, back to why you guys are interviewing me here tonight. There's not enough CFL coverage in the country. And I just feel that these teams in the league need to get out in front of the media, the mainstream, or guys like yourself, and start offering their people to put them on. Because literally, you mentioned Arbuckle and how popular he was becoming. And he's only going to become more popular when the Red Blacks start playing again. I swear, if somebody hears him on TSN 1200 in the afternoon show or sees him on the Supper News, they're going to want to buy his jersey. But hiding right now, which is what the CFL in a lot of ways is doing, is not helping. And I think they wish I would shut up about that. But I'm like, guys, you're in a very competitive space in sports right now. Look at the NFL. It's eating the CFL's lunch. I bought a Dallas Cowboys zip-up the other day from Fanatics, and now I'm getting an email every single day from NFL Canada. Every day. Pitching me something. Right?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And can't blame them.
But here's the thing, though. We talk about radio, TSN 1200. When it's not the CFL season, TSN, their TV side of it, there's nothing CFL. There is nothing during the off season of of the CFL to promote it. Unlike the NFL, where it's constantly being shown, or NHL, MLB, NBA, it's just it's not as in your face. And personally, if they had a free agency show, a real free agency show, I would tune into it. If they had a CFL version of free agent frenzy, I would tune into it. I think it'd be amazing.
I had to tune into the Martian Mello on the Hamilton TSN side to hear some CFL free agency stuff, because we were talking about the Sens in Ottawa. Last year, I'll go back because I'm a big 67s guy. The 67s are up 2-0 in the finals against the Guelph Storm. We're talking about the Senators, who have 10 games left and have nothing to play for. It's just it's backwards.
Why are they doing it? Yeah, I know. But let me ask you guys both something, because I'm interested in your answer to this. I'll start with you, Frankie. When the CFL does come out of this, how big of a hole are they in to sell tickets and fill stadiums again? Because what I keep hearing from the team staff is they miss us so much, they'll come flocking back. And I'm like, they weren't flocking before this happened. I don't know why they would after. But I think there's a lot more work ahead of them than the CFL thinks.
I think so too. It's tough to say, because from my position, I'm going back no matter what, right? I'm in that stadium the second they'll let me in. So it's hard for me to answer that from the perspective of a casual fan. but I have a feeling that they're not going to be comfortable coming back until it's 100% safe to do so.
For me, it depends on what the teams do. I think the CFL can't mandate something to bring fans back. It's going to really rely on the teams having these events or these discounts or something like that to bring fans into the stadium. If we're running at 100% for whatever reason they're able to do that, I wouldn't be surprised if you see discount tickets or things for season ticket holders, because that's really one of those big things you want to bring back, because that's generally guaranteed income every year. You're going to see little more promotional stuff for them, little more bonuses. They get instead of 10% off at concessions, they get 20% off or stuff like that. Those are the people they're going to attract first, because those are the people who have bought into tickets, especially now since most teams have the pre-order for season tickets back. And then you're going to see kind of things like, 4 tickets for, $95 plus a drink and a hot dog, part of it, like kind of anything like that. Those are the things you're going to see most teams do. And I think that's where the CFL needs to rely on the teams to do it. They can't force teams to do something if it doesn't fit what they're trying to do. But I think it'd be interesting. I think for me, I will go back whenever we're allowed back. For a casual fan, I think it depends on the situation that they're presented. If it's nothing beneficial, they're not going to go back. And I think that's across sports. You need to make it worth their while to go back to a game at a stadium instead of staying home and watching it on TV.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to turn this interview on you guys and ask you guys the questions, but I'm just interested to get your take, because what you're saying is they need to make the fans feel important again. Because when's the last time you felt important? When did your team make you feel important? I can tell you this, because I'm a season ticket holder for the Regina Pats, Saskatchewan Roughriders, and Saskatchewan Rush. And the Rush, the NLL team, makes me feel important, but I think that's of who I am. You know what I mean? Because I host a show. The others really don't. And I'm like, you guys are going to have to work to make people feel important for all the things that you just said. And the Senators, like, that's another league. You know, like that's another ballpark for being high priced tickets. They're going to have more work to do as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you bring up the Rush, and I feel like I've been a huge lacrosse guy. I wish they were still on TSN. I understand they have their own broadcasting thing going on, but I think it's also being able to mix sports. It's if you let's say for Ottawa, you have the Red Blacks playing on a Friday night, and you have the 67s playing on a Sunday afternoon. It's buying a ticket for a Red Blacks game and getting a 67s game half price or something like that. I think if they're all mixed in, I mean, Calgary can do it very well because they have the Hitmen, the Flames playing all out of the same arena and whatnot. I think that's what we're going to see is, you're going to buy a game here? Well, you're going to get a discount for this game to bring you back. And
God, you want to talk about ease? Ottawa has that wrapped up. We got 5 teams in the same stadium now?
Yeah, I mean, if you have you have Atletico and the Red Blacks, okay, cool. You buy one ticket for one team, you get half price or a free ticket for another. It doesn't matter which way it is. And I think that's one way you can bring fans back. Because it's like, okay, I'm getting, 2 games for the price of one. That's fantastic. You get to fill up the seats. And if you're not a huge soccer fan, if you get a free ticket, you're going to go watch it. And that's how you make new fans. It's the same thing with football. If you're a hockey fan, you buy a 67s ticket, you get a free Red Blacks ticket, you go watch a Red Blacks game, you fall in love with the game. That's
the way it should. That's the way it should work. The teams, honestly, they don't work together right now anywhere in this country. And I'm with you. The Argos is what, as you're saying that keeps echoing in my head, is that they need to get people into their stadium for free, probably new Canadians. And I'm with you. I think once you're there, you do fall in love with it. That's what made me fall in love with the Pats. I went to my first game when I was 7, and I was hooked. Junior hockey. CFL is the same. So it's just you could put those questions to Randy. I'm not sure he'd have an answer, because the one thing he did say to me was in one of our talks, he goes, I'm a football guy and I'm a business guy. Tell me what I need to know about marketing and promotion. Like, that's not really his thing. And I hope that the people in the CFL office, I hope that is their thing, because I'm just worried that when we come back, and who knows even what the roster is going to look like, guys. Like, if I could wave a wand and have this be any way I want this league is, it would be an American Hockey League of football. You want to bring in global players? Fine. There's global players in the American Hockey League. And I only say a lower tier of hockey because of our average salary in the CFL is $95,000. But if we could partner with the XFL, maybe call it CFL, if The Rock would go for that, and have 10 teams in the States and 10 teams in Canada, and there's no ratio, let's roll. You got 20 teams and markets like Tampa Bay and Houston and St. Louis and Seattle. Wouldn't they get excited in Ottawa if the Tampa Bay Vipers and Mark Trestman came in? You guys tell me. I think it would be pretty exciting.
You said St. Louis, and I think I got goosebumps because St. Louis is the market I've wanted to hit for years, like since the Rams left and we saw how much they love football. I've been saying, go do something in St. Louis, please.
I think it's really dependent on how it works, is how it's structured. Because I think there's a core base that wouldn't want an American football up here. Like I think if you look at the core CFL fans, it's what makes the CFL great is that it's different. 3 downs, the Rouge, 2-man in motion, stuff like that. That's kind of what makes the CFL great. If you have to go to American football, I don't really see a lot of people, especially older generations, getting on board. Maybe the younger generation, but I don't see the older generation who have probably been season ticket holders for Saskatchewan. I think a lot of their older fans probably won't be on board for an American football league because they love Saskatchewan. Like they love the Rough Riders so much the way they are. It's the same thing with Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton. Ottawa, you might be able to get away with it, but I just don't see it happening if it's going to be American football. It would have to be Canadian football or some hybrid of both, and that's where you generate interest. Is if it's a hybrid, maybe, but I don't see American football being able to survive up here. It's
a really good point. That at some point we're going to have to move on from those older fans, and they're going to hate to hear me say that, but you guys are the guys that we need to market to, and your friends. And but that American thing comes up all the time. Whenever we talk about amalgamating the two leagues, that's the first thing they talk about. And you're right. But I love, like with the XFL, did you guys watch the games? I love the 1, 2, and 3 point converts. I mean, you could be down 9 with a minute to go and still have a chance. Like if you did amalgamate the rules, I still think there's a way to do it. But I should tell you this. I had an old guy come up to me in the gas station the other day, and he pulled his mask down. And he's like, Rod, love your show. Watch it every day. My name's Ken. And I think we should forget about the East and just have a Western Canadian League. And I'm like, it's not going to happen, man. That is not – getting smaller is not the answer as far as I'm concerned. And that's why I think that older generation, I'm not sure we can worry too much about their complaining about where we go out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I've said constantly on previous episodes that if you take out the production of the pregame, the postgame, the halftime, like all the production that goes into an NFL game and just watch the actual game, it's not as fun as watching a CFL game for snap, down for down. And I think that's kind of where people get lost with the CFL is that, the production of it is so minuscule and so, borderline just above where it needs to be or below where it needs to be and just like a get by kind of thing that people just forget about it. It's not something they remember if you're sitting at home watching the game unless you've watched it your entire life or you're into it and been to a game. Like I think we need to start targeting the markets that don't have a CFL team and don't have access to going to a CFL team or to a CFL game. That's where you need to if you're in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, you have access to a team. But if you're in Quebec City, you're not going to drive 6 hours to go to a Montreal game. It's not going to happen. Those are the markets we need to target, and that's how I don't think the CFL really has a pregame show. And if they do, it's like half hour and it's hit or miss and it's very streamlined.
No. Most times they don't. Like last year, the Labor Day Classic, we had a tailgate party because I'm not doing the Rider games anymore, right? We had a tailgate party. And we did a pregame show from outside the stadium. And I'm like, what's TSN going to do for a pregame? I turned it on. Let's say kickoff was 1:07. They went on air at 1. Yeah. So they had a 7-minute pregame show for the Labor Day Classic. And in that regard, TSN should sort of be ashamed of themselves, because a lot of people in the CFL say, hey, don't slam TSN. They saved this league. They prop it up. And I'm like, that doesn't mean they can treat it, they can abuse it or neglect it. Like, I think with our show being on Game Plus TV, as well as Facebook Live, we're a bit of competition for TSN. Like, for instance, we've talked about doing a draft show, because there are people that want to know about the prospects and what each team's needs are and all that stuff. So, yeah, TSN is hailed as a savior, as is David Braley. And I'm like, look, yeah, in some ways, yes. But in a lot of ways, they're holding the league back too, right? We need to look at that. But a lot of people don't, and don't even want to look at it. And by the way, you talk about the non-CFL markets. I would give anything to be a fly on the wall in the CFL marketing meetings and see how they feel about the NFL coming in and eating their lunch in Eastern Canada. Because they have to know that it's happening, don't they?
100%.
And they have to know, but they would never say it. So, like, I was out in Moncton for Touchdown Atlantic, the last one they had, and there are more NFL out there. And
because they feel neglected.
Right. And I'm just like, guys, we need to put in a little work here as a CFL. And like, Moncton is an unbelievable city. But the owners of the Schooners are friends of mine. And I'm like, why are you not going to Moncton? They got a stadium already. Like, it's nice and new. And they're like, well, Moncton's too small. Halifax is more vibrant. And there's more people. And I get it. I've been to both places. But I'm like, a little more work needs to be done for the CFL brand in the Maritimes, because nothing's being done. And it wouldn't take much. But doing nothing isn't helping.
Just put the team in Moncton for now and move them to Halifax.
Well, yeah. And you know what? If it works, keep them there.
Yeah, just let them let them kick off. You just need a team in there. Worry about the arena later. Just get the team playing. That's all you need to do. Put them in Moncton for a season or two, see how it works, work on a deal, and go from there. Just get them playing, get the gear, get the team out there.
Sometimes I think this is so obvious they must have thought of it. But the more I hang around these guys, I'm like, I don't think they've thought about it, or they haven't investigated it. So, but back to the CFL when it comes back, because it's not going the right direction, guys, financially. I mean, you saw the announcement last week where they're not going to pay players anymore that are in the first year of their new team contract. Like Naka Sanyaka is a great example. He signed with the Riders. He'd been with the Argos, and the CFL made the decision, we're not covering your wage subsidy anymore. We're not paying the 25%. And the players are really upset. And I'm like, guys, it's just because there's no money. Like, they're not intentionally screwing you. Yeah. Ambrosi and I talked about that today. There's no money. Like, we're going to the highway to hell here, to the point where these teams might be bankrupt. I've been following what's going on in Ottawa, and OSEG's unable to make these payments in the Glebe district, and they're begging City Council to be forgiven for those payments. Guys, this isn't good. So I'm like, if the CFL goes bankrupt, I could see it coming back, and I actually hope that it does, that you pay $500,000 or $1 million for an expansion franchise. And we hear from groups in Moncton and Quebec City and Kelowna and London. You know, it's time. And now would be the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, have you followed, I'm assuming you followed the CEBL, right? The Canadian League Basketball League. I had a chance to talk to Mike Morelli shortly before the season or the tournament kicked off, and he was optimistic that expansion was still a possibility. You know, Montreal, Calgary were cities that were brought up, but they played 1 year, expanded to Ottawa. It sounds like they want to expand to 9 teams by next season. I think obviously it's different because you just need an arena. You just need a place to play. Most teams, you can go to Laval, you can go to Montreal. They have those available. But do you feel like the CFL may have priced themselves out of an expansion team in terms of what they're offering? Because I'm pretty sure Ottawa, if I remember correctly, was like $5 million or something like that for an expansion fee. Right now, no one's going to pay that. Dude,
they want 10 now. From what I heard, because I've got friends that have invested in the Schooners, and it was like $500,000 gets you, like 1% of the team or something. It's a ridiculous amount of what they're asking for an expansion franchise. And I talked to Morreale too. They're talking about going into Calgary, right? That's the next team, I think. But the difference is when you say pricing themselves out, let me just say this. Would you guys buy a CFL team right now or want an expansion team in the current climate where it's where it's almost impossible to make money? The thing with the CEBL, and you guys were really robbed this year. I mean, I assume the Blackjacks were going to play at where the
TD
67s play.
Yeah.
So they have a very small staff. They pay the players almost nothing. We talked about lacrosse earlier. There's guys playing in this NLL for $1,000 a game. And by the way, what really is wrong with that? I mean, that's their second job. For the CFL to survive coming out of this, they're probably going to have to be the same way. I talked to a guy from the 1986 Ticats the other day. They had a watch party for the 86 Grey Cup. He's like, I'm watching the game. Our coaching staff was 5 people. Our roster was 33 players. There was guys going both way. Their starting corner went down in the Grey Cup on the first series, and they're screwed. And I'm like, well, that's the way football used to be played. I mean, we kind of forget that. And that's what I think the CFL wants to do. When you said, are they pricing themselves out? I thought you were going down that road as opposed to expansion fee. But they pay too much in salaries. They have too much staff. And that's where they're pricing themselves out of existence. I wouldn't want to start a CFL team either because it's impossible to make money right now.
Yeah. Rod, we've kind of blown past your allotted 30 minutes that you gave us there.
Keep going.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Because I know Shane's literally about to fire up another question as I say that. So
yeah.
Hey, honestly, I wanted to talk to Rod for the last couple of months. So the fact that you told me he was coming on, I was super stoked about it. I've watched your show multiple times. I think it's great. I love some of your hot takes are fantastic. But kind of what's the relation? We have a lot of American players, and one of the things that Ambrosie said was tapping into a college markets and talking about college, how a lot of these players come from great college universities and whatnot. When he was asked about American expansion. Do you I know the CFL has a bunch of camps in the South, most teams have 4 or 5 camps down South. Do you think that maybe more camps or having instead of training camp in Ottawa for a week, they have training camp in Clemson or in Alabama, something like have a rookie camp or open rookie camp in those kind of areas? Do you think that would help generate more interest in the league if that's a route they went?
Well, it wouldn't hurt, but the only reason they went away from it was cost. And it depends what kind of camp you're talking about. We had free agent camps with the Rough Riders all across America, but that's guys come up, pay $100, work out for 6 hours, and if you get a call, we'll bring you to main camp. But there were times 2013, 2014, 2015, Riders were sending their whole team down there, plus coaches, and maybe 40 to 50 American rookies, and it was just far too expensive, and no Americans were coming out to watch. The only time they did was when we had Vince Young. Our camp was in Vero Beach, and Florida, and some Eagles fans came out just to boo him. It was hilarious. They stood on the sidelines and just booed Vince Young all day. It was the funniest thing I ever saw. But, you can still have these free agent camps. I'm just wondering what the end goal is for you saying that, because some guys like Sam McGuavin, who played for the Riders, he's now with the Dolphins. Derek Moncrief played for the Riders, he's now with the Rams. They showed up at those free agent camps, and they still have them, right? But none of them have ever really been on U.S. college campuses, from what I know. They're usually just high school fields.
Yeah, usually I think. I just think it's more getting the name out there, right? We've talked to a couple of players who didn't really hear about the CFL until their second or their junior or senior year or shortly after they graduated from college. So maybe getting that league out earlier would be more of maybe NFL isn't the end all to be all. I can go out here. This might this system might fit me better. The way the league plays might fit me better. Early exposure might be the way to go. And if you have alumni, Sherrod Baltimore, I think Kevin Brown, he was from Cincinnati. If you have a couple of open training camps for some of the seniors or draft eligible players who've declared for the draft and whatnot. You have those junior or those sophomores and freshmen watching. They're like, oh man, this is a league that I might be able to play in and I might fit better than the NFL. Because there are players that don't fit the NFL game but fit the CFL game rather nicely.
I think you should do that, but I also think they need to be on television more in the States, because more than what you're talking about is I've heard Danny McManus is a great example of a guy, the Hall of Fame Ticats quarterback, who grew up in Dania Beach, Florida, watching the CFL on ESPN, back when the ESPN was clamoring for programming. He watched the games. So when he showed up in Winnipeg as a rookie in 1990, he knew the rules. He knew exactly what he was walking into because the game had been on television. Right? I mean, does that make sense? I mean, the one thing a couple of years ago, the CFL had a TV contract in Ambrosie's tenure with NFL Network, like maybe 2 years ago, 3 at the most. And I'm like, where did that go? Like, I get that once the NFL kicks off or even training camps begin, the CFL went to the back burner, but we still had May, June, and July games on NFL Network. That to me is far more important. And the biggest problem for the last 20 years that I've been in the league, why we didn't have an American TV deal, was that the CFL wanted money for it. And I'm like, guys, you're not going to get money for it. It's ESPN's offering airtime for free on ESPN. Take it.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Orge didn't want to do it. Cohan didn't want to do it. Randy at least did, but for whatever reason, that deal seems to be up. I think that's more important, because then not just are the American players seeing what it's all about, the American consumer is seeing it all about. You've been talking for 46 minutes about how tremendous the CFL product is. Let's put it on TV in the States. Right? Let's show it off instead of keeping it a secret.
And it's upsetting because I had convinced my buddy to watch a CFL game. He lives in Maryland. He watched, I think it was probably one of the Owls Stamps games that was played in Montreal. So obviously that just means Montreal won. But I had convinced him to watch that. And he's like, I'm going to watch the Grey Cup when it comes on. What happens night of the Grey Cup? He can't find it. It's not on TV. Like it's pretty ass backwards. Like the Grey Cup. That? I think that may have even been this year.
Okay.
I don't
like the last one that we had. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ESPN deal is really, it's weird because it's like, I think 20 national broadcast games and like 70 some broadcast games on ESPN Plus or something like that. My big frustration is that they have the streaming service, but it's not available in Canada, US, and in in UK. Personally, I know a lot of people that aren't willing to pay just for TSN just to watch CFL football, but they're willing to pay for a streaming service that you can rewatch games, watch classics, and be able to if you miss Thursday Night Football, cool, you can go rewatch it on Friday morning, or if you want to relive the 2011 Grey Cup, you can go watch it. I think that's also something the CFL needs to look at, is a streaming service that allows that.
Actually, one of the questions that one of my viewers today wanted me to put to Randy Ambrosie was, how are you going to make the games available digitally? And I think he meant live, but probably rewatchable too. And I never had time. We run out of time. But it's a big question that probably in the list of problems the CFL has, it's probably 499th right now, to be honest with you, which it probably should be a lot higher than that. It just doesn't seem to be a priority to them for some reason. The problem with ESPN Plus, man, I've got an Android box. I'm looking at it right now. I watch ESPN every day. That's how I've been watching the Spring League on Fox Sports 1. I'm already paying subscription for satellite radio. I'm paying subscription for Netflix. I'm paying for subscriptions for the Canadian Press. Like, at some point, it's got to end, But the CFL needs to be available somewhere, and right now it really isn't, other than TSN.
I mean, luckily for us, there's some guy who takes the TSN broadcast and the TSN 1200 radio commentary for Red Blacks games, and he uploads them to YouTube. And it's like, those videos are getting thousands of views on them. And it's like, if this was legit and you had people paying for this, people would still watch it.
100%.
The only way, a lot of people don't know that exists.
Does he do that live or records them and posts them after?
It's about 3-4 days after the game is done, they come out, but I'll go back and I'll watch them, bring out the notepad, write down whatever I need to write down, and then boom, I'll write a piece about it.
Wow. Cool.
So, I don't know. The CFL is missing out something there.
Rod, you wanna stick with us while we shift over to the NFL side of football? I assume you're a Dallas fan, considering you said you bought a Dallas sweater off of Fanatics.
Not a good year to buy it, but yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan.
I mean, that division has been some kind of awful. Where's your stance on Dak Prescott? It seems like Cowboy fans are super divided that like he's a top 10 quarterback or he's just benefiting from a pass-happy offense. Where's your stance on Dak?
Well, I became a Cowboys fan right near the start of the Troy Aikman era. So the problem for that is nobody will ever compare to Troy to me, and that's their fault. That's not their fault. And the guy won 3 Super Bowls, and he's Troy Aikman. And I never liked Tony Romo or any of the other imposters that have come through there. So no, I'm not the biggest Dak fan. And just at the start of the year, let's not forget, it's not like Dak was the savior and they were winning games with him, and all of a sudden he breaks his ankle and oh no, the season's over. They weren't winning with Dak. And Jerry Jones, and yeah, they have the worst defense potentially in franchise history. Before long, it'll probably be in NFL history. But
I don't know. Seattle's still here.
That's true. But Jerry Jones was saying, and God bless Jerry, by the way, in that he does interviews every week, live radio in Dallas. There's not many GMs and owners that do that, but that's his ego. And when Dak was still healthy this year, he's like, listen, he wants to be paid to be the man. He's got to win games late. He's not winning games late. I don't care what the defense is. And I'm with Jerry on that. Don't forget, Jerry played offensive line in Arkansas with Jimmy Johnson. They were teammates. So that's how that connection was made. Jerry knows football. So my point is with Dak, I'd say let's tank it, try and draft Trevor Lawrence and start over and keep Andy Dalton. Only if Dak is going to hold out again next year. Because what he put the Cowboys through this summer was a crime. And I don't believe he's worth Patrick Mahomes money. Patrick's at least won. I don't know what Dak has done to think that he should be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. That's my take on Dak Prescott.
Yeah, you can't really pay him either when you gave Chewbacca however millions of dollars to pick up 3 yards on a running play every single time too.
He hasn't had a very good year either. I got former NFLer Torrey Gurley on my show as an analyst, and every week he picks out all the problems with the Cowboys. Takes an hour. And that wasn't supposed to be the plan. This is supposed to be the most talented Cowboys team since 95, and it might end up being one of the worst Cowboys teams ever. How did we miss that?
Yeah. I don't know. Thankfully, I'm not a Cowboys fan. I mean, my soul hurts today because I'm sure, as you heard while you were kind of backstage there, I'm a Bills fan. Mm-hmm. And DeAndre Hopkins is going to live on in my worst memories, not only for what he did on Sunday, but also for what he did last year in the playoffs. I don't know. That was just as bad.
Can we play the clip just to rub it in a little bit?
Go for it.
Shotgun. Murray out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It is. Oh, it's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. Miraculous.
Does that not remind you, though, of Aaron Rodgers a couple of years ago against Detroit, where he just kind of scrambled out and just let it fly, and the guy caught it with 4 guys around him?
He did it against Seattle, too. On Monday Night Football a few years ago, Golden Tate caught it. Well, more than a few years ago now. Frankie, can you not just say a great play beat you, and that this is still the best Bills team since 1993?
Yeah, I can. Absolutely. That's the thing that I was saying off air with Shane, is you're not going to get a crazy reaction out of me. When that happened, I was pissed off.
Oh yeah, you were.
I was mad.
Was funny.
But DeAndre Hopkins is probably the best receiver in the game. I said that after last year. That's why. And he mossed Tre'Davious White. And he was for about 13 minutes, the highest paid corner in the NFL. So
yeah, I mean, I love how earlier in the game, like literally the drive before, they were talking about how Stephon Diggs has been the best receiver in the NFL this year, and then DeAndre Hopkins goes and does that.
Well, hey, it's going to be a fun second half here, and with what AB is going to do in Tampa Bay.
Assuming he doesn't throw any more bikes at security guards.
I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. I deal with guys like that all the time. I'm sure AB's not that bad of a dude. But, guys, you can't say that this hasn't been an unreal, exciting year in the National Football League. You know, with all who's your team, Shane?
I'm a Steelers fan.
Oh,
so I am just
Ron?
loving
we're
it right now.
On this?
I'm just loving it right now. But I've said it before. I've said it on multiple episodes. We're not the best team in the league. We have a lot of offensive problems that need to be figured out. Run game, especially. But, you know, I feel like we lose this week to Jacksonville because it's Jacksonville and we need to lose. But, yeah, no, it's been a fun year. It's been a fun year. Claypool has been turning it up. I said before the year that Claypool would be receiver, like pushing for the second receiver spot by the end of the year, and he's definitely doing it. Up to 9 receiving touchdowns on the year. Fantastic.
If you're going to blow one, why couldn't it have been in Dallas? Were you worried?
Honestly, yeah. I was just like, this team, I hate the play calling. The play calling for the Steelers offense is atrocious. Constantly 3 and outs. And you know what? Shout out to Neville Gallimore because he was a beast that game up the middle. Earlier, like we've talked about him early in the episodes. We both think that he'll probably end up in the CFL at some point. But if he continues playing like this, probably not. He's been a beast on the interior the last couple of weeks. But, you know, that play calling for Pittsburgh has been atrocious. They got lucky against Dallas. They should have lost. But, you know, a win's a win, and we'll take it.
Yeah. Well, it's fun ride. Obviously, you can't argue with the organization that they got something going on right there. And, you know, I don't want to swing it back to the CFL or anything, but we did have a fun discussion about a month ago when Chase Claypool was tearing it up and still is about, is this good or bad for the CFL to have, well, you just mentioned another Canadian in Gallimore. Is it good or bad for the CFL to have Canadians starring in the NFL? And it took us a while to come to a conclusion, but I think overall it's good because it's going to inspire more Canadian kids to play football.
I think it has the same effect as the Toronto Raptors winning the championship, right? Like, Canadian kids see that and they say, oh, Mom, I want to play basketball. Now they see Chase Claypool catching 5 touchdowns and they're like, you know, I kind of want to play football.
Yeah.
But speaking of Claypool.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you spoken to Claypool or Gallimore on your show?
No,
we tried. Yet. We tried. We don't have the clout, so
neither do we.
I'm
not sure if our guy tried or not. I'm not really expecting it. I'm kind of pumped that Claypool's mom is from Saskatchewan. I found out, so there's a bit of a connection there. But it's just, I think it's a worthwhile discussion whether this is good for the CFL or not, because I had a CFL player say to me, Rod, do you think the CFL should be retweeting Claypool clips or like tweeting Claypool clips from Pittsburgh? And because he goes, I think it's wrong. I'm going to call them out for it. And I'm like, let me think about it. And I'm like, nah, we got to celebrate Canadians, you know, doing big things in America, in NFL and NCAA.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of that one's tough.
I have no issue with it. I love it. I think it's great.
Like we do it. We love Claypool because he's Canadian. We love Deontay Spencer because he played in the CFL. Like when something like that, somebody like that makes a big play, we're into it. But from the league's perspective, is promoting your number one competitor wise? Yes.
Considering not everyone's going to be a Claypool. Not everyone's going to be a Gallimore. Plenty of players go down to the States for football. Most of them come back up here. But what it shows is that Canada has competitive football. It has talented athletes.
And that's it, right? There's two sides of the coin here.
Let's be fair. Most of them grow up playing Canadian football. It's not until you get to those older levels where you're playing provincial where most of them end up playing American-style football. They're mostly playing Canadian. Yeah. So you're looking at this guy, you're looking at Claypool. He came up, out of BC, and he played Canadian football for most of his childhood, and he's having great success in the NFL. He had a decent college career in Notre Dame, having great success in his early rookie season. I think it's great. I think as a CFL, you need to promote football. You need to get kids playing because the more kids playing, more talent.
What kind of bothers me though, Rod, I don't know if you'd agree with this or not. Why have we not heard anything about Nathan Rourke in the last 5 months?
I guess he's not playing.
Like,
who have we heard about?
But like, I would love to see a Canadian quarterback in the league, and I think Nathan has the head on him, and I think he's got all of the tools in the bag to be a really good quarterback. Like, that is a guy that the CFL should be hyping up.
Kind of hard to hype him up when he's behind Mike Riley.
Well, I was going to say he's going to get his chance at some point. You know, he's still very young. I think he does have all the tools, and at some point we're going to stop saying you wouldn't know he was Canadian, which is a lot of what a lot of the American coaches were saying, like the worst insult, right, ever. But I get it. I've interviewed Nathan Rourke. He seems like an unreal guy. He's from Mississauga, right? Played at Ohio.
Yeah.
His time will come. I mean, the number 1 overall pick, you guys must have been thinking you were going to get him, Jordan Williams, and the Red Blacks had the number 1 overall pick, right?
Well, no, we
traded to Calgary.
But you initially had it, yeah.
Okay, but the thing that pisses me off about that, we could have had him last year because he came to Red Blacks camp, and Rick Campbell decided to open his big mouth. He's like, "Oh, your mom is Canadian. Well, you can enter the draft next year as a Canadian, but you have to enter the draft." And he's like, "Cool, I'll go through the draft. I'll probably be number 1." And the fact that BC traded up for him, biggest piss off.
I know, but here's the thing that kind of sucks about Ed Hervey getting toasted in BC, which I think we've learned the reason why. BC had by far the best draft of anybody. And I'm sorry to have steered this back to CFL, but they got the number 1 overall pick in Jordan Williams, who I think is going to be an absolute monster for years.
100%.
And then Nathan Rourke, too. And the way it's going with Mike Riley might not play another down ever for the BC Lions, as angry as I understand he is. So I guess my point, guys, is, I'd like to see it being promoted, but there's just nothing going on. It's very similar with the Regina Pats here. We have the very first ever exceptional player in the Western Hockey League, Connor Bedard, who's 15. They're calling him the next McDavid. And for a while I was saying to the Pats, why are you not promoting this guy? He's not on billboards. This is going back to the summertime. And they're like, well, we're not playing. We don't even know if there is a season. There's nothing to market. So I'm sure the BC Lions would be saying the same thing. I hope they are. Like, when we do get back to playing, I'd like to see those guys' faces plastered all over BC, all over Vancouver. But that's just not something the CFL's done. They haven't marketed anybody. You know, and that's what needs to change.
100%. And I mean, I think we've talked about it on previous episodes. You know, we talked to Nathan Rourke, I think like a couple of episodes in shortly after the draft. But if you're the CFL, you have all these big names. Willie Jefferson. I think people underestimate how big of an impact Willie Jefferson going back to Winnipeg was on the league. For a league that complains so much, or fans complain so much about turnover, there was a lot of big names staying with their respective clubs. You know, Vernon Adams staying in Montreal was a big thing. Willie in Winnipeg and Dylan Wynn and co. staying in Hamilton. That's a sign of improvement. But now you have to market these guys. You have to make sure that, you know, fans understand that these guys are part of your organization and your franchise for this foreseeable future, not just 1 year. And I don't think the CFL quite understands that.
It can't just be the Canadians either. Like, Brad Sinopoli, Antoine Pruneau are the 2 names in Ottawa that you look at. Those are the mainstays. Those are the guys that they promoted heavily. But
I mean, to be fair, Pruneau has been here since what, 2014, 2015. Same with Sinopoli. He was here in 2015.
Yeah.
You know,
but like,
those other
than Henry Burris, there's not been a single guy that's been anywhere near the promotional level of those 2.
No, but I mean, realistically, like, there's no one besides those 3 that have been worth it.
You have Sherrod Baltimore. Promote the ever-loving shit out of him.
Yeah, but you have to look at it like he's great in the community, but him and Thorpe were head-to-head. Are you going to promote someone where you don't even know he's going to be playing on game day, right? As much as we both dislike Trevor Harris as a quarterback, he's probably the only guy that you could really market. And the fans were split on him. So are you really going to market someone where fans are really split on?
They're very gun shy about that, and I get it, but I don't have a ton of time for that argument, because if I was a James Neal fan, I would have to buy like 7 jerseys. James Neal played for 4 teams in 4 years: the Oilers last year, the Flames the year before, the Golden Knights the year before that, and I think Pittsburgh the year before that. Well, what if I was a Josh Donaldson fan? Whose jersey am I buying? Braves, Josh Donaldson, Twins, Josh Donaldson, Blue Jays, Josh Donaldson. Like, it's not a CFL thing, guys. In my opinion, I'm sorry. It's a sports thing. So maybe you buy a jersey with a Velcro name bar. I don't know. I mean, when I was voice of the Riders, I had a ton of people. This is how crazy it is here. And maybe it's the same in Ottawa. But people are writing me going, DMing me going, should I buy a Deron Carter jersey? Is he going to be around? And I'm like, I don't know. Probably not. Look at his track record. But I'm like, go retro, man. Buy a Darian Durant. Buy a Kerry Joseph. That's just the way that it is. I don't think that is a CFL specific problem. And I don't like to side with the marketers because I think they could do a lot better overall. But I will say that's why they're gun shy in promoting the stars. I think you should promote them anyways. You know, because if you are promoting them and you make them a star in that town, it's going to make it a lot harder for them to leave.
Yeah.
Right now,
100%.
like here, great example. There's a banner on the side of the stadium of 2 Rough Riders, like in this pose with helmets and visors. You don't even know who they are. And I'm like, what are you doing? But
we had to do that here too. We had there was a 67s player, and obviously cyclical nature of junior hockey, they're gone quickly. William Powell and Trevor Harris were on the side of the stadium last year when they weren't even on the team. So like they had to do that same thing where they just put generic picture. You can't tell who it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was in Houston at a Rockets game, and they had Russell Westbrook and James Harden together on a picture, which on a banner like 7 stories high on the side of a building. That was just last year. It's not looking too good right now. But I know those banners are expensive. But the bottom line is the CFL doesn't market their players. So that needs to change. You don't need to put up 7-foot banners, guys, but put them on a pamphlet. Put them on breakfast TV or whatever your morning show is out there. You know what I mean? Get them in the
100%.
media. That's what needs to change.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I think Ottawa's a little bit different when it comes to their morning TV, because Henry Burris was part of our morning TV once he retired, and there was a good amount of red-black coverage and like red-black players and representation when he was there. I just think it's also, social media. As much as we want radio and TV, mine and Frankie's generation, it's all social media. Your shows are on Facebook Live. It's posting on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. That's where I think the league also needs to focus on marketing their players. Get them on Facebook, get them on, especially Instagram and Twitter, on their popular, and kind of just force it down fans' throats. That's how every other league does it. If you have a star player, you're going to see it every day, everywhere, no matter what it's about.
Have you seen Nate Bahar's new venture?
I have, yes. I think it's great.
So do I. It's exactly what you're talking about. I hope it works for him.
So do I. I'm glad that because I would think that he's pretty much done playing football at this point.
No, I don't think he thinks that.
Really? I feel like this, I understand COVID's a little bit different, but hey, if this goes strong for him, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this partner with the CFLPA in the near future.
Well, as a matter of fact, I think he needs to play to help further his company and his app. Do you know what it is, Frankie, what we're talking about?
I think I've seen stuff about it, but I haven't
It's called Autonomy, and it's a company that I think works through an app that if you want to market your business, he'll match you with a CFL player to be your brand ambassador. And for any company, you can put in the traits that you want of the player, and they'll match the player with your business. So
shame we're in.
Yeah. So, you guys, you're watching NFL Sundays. How many NFL players are in those ads? 80% of them, at least 90%.
You have Mahomes and Troy Polamalu with Head and Shoulders. You have Aaron Rodgers, and for a while it was Clay Matthews with Bose headphones.
Yeah.
So yeah, you use and they stick, right? I haven't seen a Bose headphones commercial in like 5 years, but I still remember what the commercials were. It was Clay Matthews and Russell Wilson, and one of the commercials was literally both of them in the locker room, and then they were on the field, and like that stuff sticks with you because it's constantly on TV. Like you constantly see it.
Why is Cody Fajardo not trying to walk into Mosaic Stadium with a handful of groceries? Why is that just Baker Mayfield?
Well, that's something the riders need to work on. Believe me. This guy could be the most popular Rough Rider ever. And we do tend to get ahead of ourselves sometimes and over-exaggerate things. He's only started 1 year. I get that. But he is Saskatchewan written all over him, man.
Rod, didn't you put him number 1 in your quarterback tier list?
I couldn't have. Maybe I did. I think I did it. Well, hang on for a sec. My tier on that is if I'm starting a franchise, who am I signing number 1? If I'm an expansion team. So I go by youth. We had all these qualities. Age, leadership ability. Obviously, he can play. I just looked at Bo. He's older. Riley's older than that. And I actually had Arbuckle pretty high, and I just got destroyed for that. I'm like, this is what I think of Nick Arbuckle. I think we've seen him play enough for Calgary that this guy's got it. So, yeah, I put Cody number 1. But, I mean, I'm the kind of guy that if you're in with me, you're in. You know? And I love the guy personally and professionally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we did our rankings after that too. But yeah, I think I only saw the clip of that, so I don't think.
Who'd you have number 1?
I think as of right now, I think it was Bo. We did that a long time ago. That was a talking point when we're like, well, is there a season? Is there not a season?
I think we also we got into it pretty heated when we were talking about the all-decade team in terms of who would be number 1 in an all-decade team, and I kind of ripped Bo for it, and Frankie did not like it.
That's okay. Bo likes getting ripped. Fires him up. I won't call him the Tom Brady of the CFL. Nobody ever has, but he doesn't mind that stuff. Henry, on the other hand, gets very upset at stuff like that. You've noticed.
Yeah, but I mean, I
what's
think it
my
also
favorite gift?
Yeah. I mean, hey, he plays better when he's fired up like that. I'm not going to deny that. But, yeah, no, I think we got into an argument about, we're also supposed to find out who the all-decade team is during this Grey Cup Unite thing. And I kind of forgot about it. I'm just like, it's been a while since this has been on, like on Twitter or Facebook and whatnot. So I looked it up and like, oh, yeah, we're going to announce the all-decade team during Grey Cup Unite week. And I'm like, this is going to be sick. I think it's going to be Bo at quarterback, but I think it should be Ricky Ray or Henry Burris.
Really? What day are they announcing that? Do you remember?
I have no idea. I couldn't find it on the schedule.
Is it Thursday?
But it was like, what they were doing. It was one of the things that had like, the fan tent house, this and it was like all-decade team and much more. And I was like, okay, cool. But I think, it might be Thursday or Friday.
Well, I mean, I've been friends with Henry since the year 2000. And we've spoken privately about this fit that he threw over, because I said it's between Bo and Ricky Ray for the decade quarterback. I'm like, he lost his mind. And I'm like, Henry, you need to get over this stuff. Like, you really need to get over it. It's a little like LeBron winning the championship this year and saying, I need some damn respect. And I'm like, you'll get your respect, man. You can't run around demanding it. And in Henry's defense, he had a lot of reasons why he thought he was the top quarterback of the decade, but I said, you're not convincing me. I was there. I'm saying I actually went with Bo, but it's Bo or Ricky. And I said, Henry, if anybody wants to say that I was the best broadcaster or wasn't the best broadcaster, I don't care. Why do you care so much? He didn't really have an answer for me, but that's just the way Henry's always been.
That's why so many people hate him, though. But I think
who hates him?
We see a lot of, especially when he played for Ottawa, Tiger Cats fans hated him. And I think it's for that same reason, though, that you love him when he's on your team.
See, I always said that if Hamilton kept Burris in 2014, when they went and lost to, I think, Calgary, that it was 2014 when Bo Levi won his first ring. they would have won the Grey Cup that year. I don't think Caleros was the quarterback to do it, just experience-wise. Saskatchewan was primed to win that year, or the year before in 2013. Probably one of the best teams I've seen in CFL history, top to bottom. But, yeah, I think if Henry Burris was on that 2014 Hamilton team, they would have won a Grey Cup, and he would have had an extra ring to his name.
Well,
But,
you know what? You should say that to him if you ever get a chance. Have you had him on your show? That would drive him
Rod,
nuts.
we've tried. He agreed, and then he ghosted us.
Yeah,
Well, that's because he went to Chicago.
That is true.
You have to stay on him. You have to stay on him. I tell my producer that all the time. That's just the way Hank is. It's fascinating you would say that, though, Shane. But, you know, in history, will tell you Kent and Henry couldn't get along.
That's true.
So that's why they left, or why he left. And two, Zach did take them all the way to the Grey Cup. And if not for a blocking in the back penalty, what was the kid's name? Wasn't Larry Dean. Whoever that middle linebacker was that got flagged on the block in the back, he wins the Grey Cup.
That's for sure. You know,
Right.
it's just one of those plays. But yeah, honestly, I had Ricky Ray at number one. I think if he doesn't get hurt in 2017, we're looking at we would look at a completely different landscape during that 2017 season, and possibly the 2018 season, because he probably would have been back that year, or he got hurt in 2018. Probably would have played out the rest of the year.
That was actually our argument, Rod, because Shane was saying that Bo didn't start the decade, but kind of, I guess, Shane, I'm going to say you glossed over Ricky Ray not finishing the decade. So we were kind of fighting.
I said there was a recency bias with Bo Levi, because Frankie, no offense, but you started watching watching the CFL when
the year before the Red Blacks came in.
Yeah. You know, and this is, you know, for me, I've watched Ricky Ray since he was in Edmonton. I remember watching his rookie year with the now nameless Edmonton football team. So like, for me, I think if Ricky Ray doesn't get hurt against Calgary in 2018, it's a completely different conversation. That, you know, if we're looking at it in that way, I think Bo Levi, you know, great 4 or 5 years, fantastic, 4 championships, visits as like 5 years in as a starter. But I think Ricky Ray as a whole did a lot more for Toronto and did a lot more with less than Bo Levi did in Calgary during his time, up until like the 2017-18 year, where his receivers were like, he had like 5 different starting receivers and none of them over 1,000 yards. And they still went up and won the Grey Cup in 2018.
Yeah, well, he's been in 4 Grey Cups. And I don't know, listen, I could sit and talk about this forever. But I'm like, there's Grey Cups that Henry played in that he didn't even show up in. One was 2013 right here. So Ricky Ray showed up in every Grey Cup. You know, like he might not have won them all, but it wasn't on him. So I believe come Thursday night it'll be Ricky Ray. God, it's got to be, doesn't it?
I think so. I mean, his
there's
only 2 losses.
Right? There's 2.
Oh, I think they're only naming.
I think there's only 1.
I think they're only naming
There's
one.
only 1. Okay.
Yeah, because they're doing I mean, they might do a second tier. I feel like they
thought
would probably do a second team.
A depth chart, right, where you'd see 2 to 3 quarterbacks.
Well, they only told you to vote for 1. They only told you to vote for 1.
Okay. Well,
so
yeah, it's been a long
they're
time.
doing a first team. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a second team. I
God,
feel like
I
it would
hope
be
it's
stupid.
only 1.
But I think personally, like, you know, Ricky Ray won in 2012 and 2017, and his only Grey Cup losses came against the Anthony Calvillo-led Alouettes. And realistically, he was Calvillo was 3-5 in Grey Cups. So like,
Oh yeah, he can't. No, he's not. I've talked to AC about that. He doesn't like to be reminded. And by the way, on the Hank thing, he did win a Grey Cup on one leg. Like, nobody's taking anything away from Hank.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Right?
And Henry Burris is like for you with Troy Aikman, there's no Cowboys quarterback that's ever going to be as good as Troy Aikman. No Red Blacks quarterback will ever be as good as Henry Burris. It's just impossible at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm indifferent on that. I don't know. I remember going to the CFL games when the Renegades were here. You know, I remember Joseph and co I remember going to the old, Frank Clair Stadium and watching the Renegades lose badly, but it was still a fun time. And then I continued to watch it after the Renegades were gone. So I got to watch, these quarterbacks on a very unbiased level because I didn't have a favorite team. I liked all the teams in the league. I didn't really care who won or who lost. I just enjoyed watching the game. So when Henry came to Ottawa, I was super excited. I was happy because I've watched him for years, and a stable high-end quarterback that you can market, bring fans to the games. But I don't think he's going to be the best quarterback that the Red Blacks see in their history. Unless we fold next year, there's gonna be someone who comes around and just outplays them and who does more. And I think all you really need to do is win 2 Grey Cups. If Arbuckle can come in and win 2 Grey Cups in Ottawa, he's most likely going to get looked at better than Henry Burris because he won 2 Grey Cups.
Well, I think he's got a chance. He's young. He's talented. He's a good person. I think that he's got everything you want. Let's just get on the field and play.
Yeah, 100%.
It is Thursday, by the way. I double checked that.
It is Thursday? Cool.
Yeah.
Have to make sure.
Exciting.
Thursday at 7 Eastern. So, yeah.
That's good. I mean, it's late enough that people will actually be able to watch.
Unlike the Town Hall.
Or the Red Blacks thing this morning at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
10 o'clock? A tailgate party at 10 o'clock? Fun.
What? I mean, to be fair,
I was in class.
I was asleep. Like, I don't know. I'm excited for the tailgating in Ottawa, though. They're like, we've always had a tailgating, but now since I'm pretty sure Ford actually legalized tailgating as like an allowed thing, it's going to be a lot more fun. That's my big thing that I was looking for this year was being able to go out and have a great day of just all football. But that was kind of robbed from us.
Temporarily.
Yeah, hopefully. We've pushed quite a bit, almost an hour and a half. Do we want to go right into our picks?
No, you guys go ahead. I can hear my wife roaming around upstairs. I'm going to have to answer to that, so I'll let you guys do that. But do me a favor. Next time in Ottawa, we'll all go to Kraft. Hopefully it's around a football game, and we'll pick this up then. And please tag me in your post when you're sending this out so I can send it to my friends.
It's all live on Facebook and Twitter right now.
And YouTube.
Yeah, but these go up day after as well in podcast form, so we'll tag you there.
Awesome.
But we appreciate you coming on. You've always been great to us since we started this, so really appreciate it. And again, thanks for coming on and shooting the shit with us.
I'm going to take a screenshot here. Hang on. Smile, guys. Thank you. Hey,
if you ever need guests for your show, if you're ever looking for anyone, let us know. Let us know.
We'll do it throughout the winter because I have a feeling, and probably next summer too, we're not going to have games to talk about, so we can talk about all these same things.
Toss some junior hockey in there too, just for the fun of it.
Oh, absolutely love to. And maybe sooner than later we'll kick around this all-decade team.
Done.
100%.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on, Rod.
Okay, see ya.
Oh, man, that was a great conversation.
That was. And considering, too, he said that he was going to give us a half hour. I wanted to stick to that, and you kept asking more and more questions.
You didn't tell me that it was only a half hour. I don't think you didn't tell me.
That's in our DMs, man. You should know that.
I'm going to check real quick because I'm pretty sure you didn't say half hour. I think you just told me that you wanted him on.
I sent the DM through our account, so you also have access to that. But like I said, when Rod was leaving there, Rod's always been great to us. Right when we started, we reached out to him to get some advice on what to do to make a good CFL show. Helped us out. And, again.
Yeah. Fantastic guy. Yeah. He's been nothing but supportive. We're going to have to make sure to send him some a merch or something. Yeah. Send it that way. But, that fantastic conversation. A half hour turns into almost an hour and a half. We appreciate that. But before we get into the picks, we were talking about Claypool. We do have a couple of clips that we want to talk about quickly before we head into our picks.
We're not going to get a full NFL recap this week, too. But it is what it is. Anything in exchange for some CFL talk.
Oh, 100%. So I'm gonna run some Claypool stuff real quick on you. Some really good ones. We're gonna throw the first touchdown catch for him against
Connor in the backfield, 2nd and 10. Roethlisberger, pump fake, throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Chase Claypool.
And you know what? This is where being a big body helps. He just goes up there and outmuscles, outmans that Bengals defender and just takes the touchdown.
Yeah. Hey,
and here's them.
Did he have 3 touchdowns? Is that why we have 3 clips here?
No, we have 2.
2nd and goal. Roethlisberger with his 4th touchdown pass today. The 2nd time to Claypool.
Touchdowns when the score is 29-7 don't count.
Hey, it still counts. Still a touchdown. Beautiful, just quick slant. No, the third clip I have from the Steelers Bengals game is McLeod's return, which actually I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, set up that Claypool touchdown.
Huber back in his end zone. McLeod at the 43. Turns upfield. Here we inside go. The 40. Here we goes to the inside. And is chased down around the 15-yard line by Jermaine Pratt.
And the reason why I bring that up is because it looks so much like a CFL return. How everything was just slowed down right there, kind of within that 5 yards. And he just kind of bursted up the middle. And realistically, if it wasn't for that punter being able to cut him off like that, it would have been brought to the house. So, I just wanted to throw that in there because it just reminded me so much of a CFL return.
So let's play a quick game, right? I think we can both agree highlight of the week is DeAndre Hopkins mossing 3 dudes, right?
Probably, yeah, I would say so.
Other than that, I've got 2 clips here that I want to roll. One is the Cordell Patterson kickoff or kickoff return, one of them. Like it was a kickoff because it was the first play of the second half. And Ronald Jones, 98-yard touchdown run. I'm going to roll both of those, and we're going to decide which one's second best play of the week. So we'll do Cordell Patterson first.
Cordell Patterson waiting for a big return. 5 yards deep out of the end zone, trying to run it out. Down the sideline. Patterson has 7 for his career. Looking for 8 down the sideline. Throws up the deuces for the touchdown. Exactly what the Bears needed. 105-yard kick return for Cordell Patterson. And with it, he ties for the most in NFL history. The Bears love the third quarter all of a sudden. Wow. And that's how Chicago takes the lead.
When you talk about infusing some energy and juice into a fanless stadium, this is how you do it. You return a kick for a touchdown coming right out of the half. This kind of all of a sudden cures your woes as far as you being inefficient in the third quarter.
2 things. 1, those orange Chicago Bears jerseys.
Fantastic.
Mint. 2, Cordell Patterson, even though he's like 800 at this point, is absolutely electrifying.
Dude, Cordell Patterson's fantastic. I don't understand how they don't use him more in the offense.
It's just weird to see a number 84 line up in the backfield.
Not that weird.
It's kind of weird.
Let's run this Jones play.
Ronald Jones will get it. Big hole. Jones gets by. Ronald Jones may go all the way. Being chased from behind. Does Jones have enough? Still on his feet. Ronald Jones, 98-yard touchdown. Wow.
So
shout out Adam O'Clair's brother. I forget his name.
Anthony O'Clair, pretty sure.
Is it Anthony?
I'm pretty
sure. He
sure.
shows up at the end of the play.
This reminds me a lot of Derrick Henry's run versus Jacksonville a couple years ago. And this is where Carolina lost the game. This is the play that killed Carolina that game.
Bro, but who the hell is that number 21 on Carolina? That dude made us some serious ground before he dove to try to tackle.
I don't know why he dove. He should have just jumped on him. But you know what? If we're going to pick second best play, I'm taking, even though it was a loss,
Cordell Patterson.
Cordell Patterson.
That's where I'm going to.
Like
And-
Jones won them the game with that play. Realistically, that was the game that won them. That was the play that won them the game. But how rare do you see a kickoff return? You know, the Bears still lost the game, but how rare is a kickoff return? And the fact that it was 105 yards, you know, you don't see that very often. And honestly, you know, you tie an NFL record, like that's fantastic.
And just on top of that too, I don't know what the Chicago Bears are doing in terms of pumping in crowd noise. That building was rocking.
Yeah, I personally love it. But you know what though? I think, you know, Pedersen the second best play of the game or of the weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make this a segment. Maybe we'll have people vote on it.
Highlight of the night.
Highlight of the week. Highlight of the NFL week.
Shane, I got to be honest though. This is going to be so much better when we get back to doing CFL stuff. Like having that
100%.
conversation with Rod tonight, man. I want it back.
I miss
so
the
bad.
CFL. I miss the
I need it
CFL.
back.
Got my Derek Dennis and Revenberg jerseys. Looks sexy. Can't wait. I would need to message both of them and get them signed. But you know.
Anyway, yeah, we're gonna do our picks are gonna continue into the CFL. That I promise. We are doing.
100%. But you know, yeah, I'm
gonna
gonna
be faster.
brag a little bit.
You picked up
looking
2 wins.
Look at the winner, the week winner at 10-4 versus 8-6. If my math is correct, I am sitting at 98, 46, and 1. Frankie is looking at 92, 52, and 7.
The issue, it's not so much that I'm having bad weeks, more so the fact that you just keep picking the underdog to win the games that you. Sorry, I got a couple notifications there. You're picking the underdogs, and the underdogs are winning.
Yeah.
But
So
anyway, the Titans are frauds. The Ravens are frauds. We know that now.
Like, you know, and realistically, that Houston game could have gone either way.
Could have, but so could the Colts and Titans game was close too, I believe, right?
No, the Colts ran them out of the building.
Did they?
It was like 30-something to like 17.
But, like, as crazy as it is, that game could have went either way. One great play by DeAndre Hopkins doesn't happen. All of a sudden, we have the same record this week.
100%.
So, like, as bad as it looks for me right now, it takes one really good week for me and one really bad week
earlier in the year, right? Detroit with DeAndre Swift not catching the ball. If he catches it, I win. That like it's happened to me all week.
Literally wide open. This is why DeAndre Hopkins is a receiver and DeAndre Swift is not.
Like it is what it is. But you know, we'll get into our picks. You know, we got a Thursday nighter, Cardinals versus Seahawks.
Quickly, like we haven't been able to talk about last week in this episode. That division just got very exciting.
100%. I'm taking the Cardinals.
Very exciting.
I'm taking the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals on this are going to win.
The Cardinals have the league's best offense, and the Seahawks have the league's worst defense. And the Cardinals' defense, while it's not that great, we saw it with Josh Allen. If you don't bring your A game,
it's good enough.
It's good enough.
It's like it reminds me a lot of the Chiefs' defense last year, where like they're good enough to keep the game close. If the offense can just deliver, they'll be fine. Yeah. So we both got Cardinals.
Yeah.
You know, we're heading in Steelers going into Jacksonville 9-0 versus the 1-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm taking the Steelers because they're my team.
You little. Episode, it's been. I think the Jaguars are going to win.
Yeah, but I told you last week that I'm always going to stick by my team. I'm never not going to pick my team, even if I think they're going to lose.
Fair enough.
Like, I'm always going to pick my team to win. So I'm going to take the Steelers. I think this is the game Jacksonville wins, but I'm taking the Steelers. You know, honestly, they can get over this hump. If they can win this game, they go 16-0. Because this is the team that has given them the most hell over the last couple of years. They've won the last 3 in Jacksonville, but a combined 17 points. This is a team that's given them the most hell. They have the Ravens next week on a Thursday nighter. I think that this is the team that if they can get over this hump over Jacksonville, there's a good chance they go 16-0.
Hey, if Jake Luton is playing, like, I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on. Thankfully, there's no Bills game this week, so I don't have to. I finally get a bye week that I actually need. Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers.
I'm taking the Panthers.
I am too.
I think Teddy Bridgewater, McCaffrey is supposed to be back apparently. It's a good football team. I like the Panthers. So do I. They just, Brady, that Bucs offense is just a lot more powerful than that defense can handle. It is what it is. But I'm taking the Panthers. We're followed by the Patriots versus Texans.
Can I point something out that's kind of funny that I saw on Twitter today?
What?
Some dude said that if the Patriots get into the end zone on whatever and goal against the Seahawks and Cam Newton doesn't fumble against the Bills, they have 2 more wins. And Patriots fans are like, yeah, we're a good team. And then some dude says, yeah, but if Nick Folk doesn't hit that 50-yard field goal to beat the Jets, well, there you have another loss. And I saw a Patriots fan come back and say, well, yeah, but they didn't lose that game, so it doesn't matter. And the guy responded and said, yeah, but you didn't win any of the games you mentioned in the above tweet, so this whole thing's pretty pointless, isn't it? So I thought that was funny. Well, yeah, I think it's funny that the Patriots fans still think they're good. That team sucks.
I mean, they're for their situation, they're decent. And they make a fair point. Like, if 2 things go different, they have 2 wins. And you're right. If they don't hit that field goal, or if the Jets miss the field goal, they have that loss. Like, it's just how football goes. If Gostkowski doesn't miss that field goal against the Patriots, you're going to overtime. It's a completely different game.
And like, every single team in the NFL can say that. The good teams have more of those things go their way than against them, right?
100%.
If DeAndre Hopkins doesn't catch that football in the end zone, then the Bills win.
Okay, so here's a question real quick. Right? Before we pick the Patriots Texans, the Dolphins play the Broncos.
Yep.
Later on, the Dolphins win that game. They're tied with the Bills for first in the division.
Now, Bills are still first based on tiebreak.
Yeah, but I mean, they're tied. I know we talked about it earlier, like last week. Are you a little bit worried that the Dolphins could steal this division?
I'm a little bit worried, but I still think the Bills are the better football team. So I think if it comes down to the point where it's a Week 17 game that matters, I think the Bills still win that game. Right? Even if you get in as a wild card, sure, you don't host a game, but I'm going to be honest with you, Shane. Maybe having a game that's not played in Buffalo is better for this football team because they can't run the ball. And what's going to happen in December in Buffalo? It's going to snow. What are you going to have to do? You're going to have to run the ball. So I'm not going to say that not winning this division is the end all be all. You'd love to host a playoff game, but if you got to worry about getting to the playoffs first. I mean,
realistically, if you're, let's say Buffalo, and you finish the first wild card seed, you're playing a team like the Colts, the Titans. Like, those are your 2 teams in that AFC South that are probably going to sit 4th.
Yep.
Do you take your chances of playing a road game against the Colts in an indoor stadium, or in Tennessee where it's Tennessee and it's going to be hot? You'll be able to throw the ball. Like,
that's the thing is, even if Buffalo, I'm not like, I want them to win the division, right? That's what we all want if you're a Bills fan. But I'm just like, if you end up playing the Colts on the road in the first week of the wild card, fine. You'll be indoors. Josh Allen can slang it. And I don't have much confidence in Phillip Rivers. So it's a pick your poison, but that route's not awful for you either.
Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots this week. Okay. I see that you've taken the Texans.
I have taken the Texans.
And the only reasons why I'm taking the Patriots is because they're probably going to be riding this high that they beat the Ravens. And the Texans put up 7 points against the Browns.
Yeah.
I think this is a game that can go either way.
It is. The next game, it's the fraud game.
I'm taking the Ravens on this one. That defense is that Ravens defense is so much better then
You know what? For the sake of I need a comeback.
Are you really going to pick the Titans? Are you seriously going to pick the Titans after
I'm seriously going to pick the Titans.
All right, man. I think Lamar Jackson has one hell of a game.
We'll see. We'll see.
I don't think he's lost. I don't think they've lost 2 in a row like since he's been a starter.
That's fine. That's fine. Tua Tagovailoa's never lost a football game. Going to at some point.
You know, and then we're followed by the Eagles and Browns. I'm taking the Browns.
Me too, because I'm never taking an AFC East team unless they're playing against one another. Does not mean that Cleveland is good, because they are.
We got the Falcons and Saints. I think we can all say a Jameis Winston led Saints team versus a Matt Ryan led Falcons team with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thompson. I got to go Saints. I think the Saints are going to do well. This could be a lot closer than it should be, but I think with Sean Payton, they're most likely going to run the ball a lot. Ravens don't have that great of a run defense. Falcons don't have that great of a run defense. I just see the Saints being able to muster out a win here.
Jameis Winston might be a good sleeper fantasy pickup.
100%.
I've said this before on the show. I like Jameis Winston.
So do I.
I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's going to actually do really well. And I think it's going to be like one of those situations where Teddy Bridgewater stepped up into the Saints last year and was really frigging good. Jameis Winston's going to do the same thing. And if Drew Brees doesn't retire this year, who knows what happens there?
100%. We got the Bengals versus Washington. So you got what? Joe Burrow and the Bengals take on Alex Smith and Washington.
I haven't picked the Bengals since like week 4. But I'm doing it here.
Honestly, I'm going to take the Bengals. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going to take Washington. Give you a little bit of a head start. I think, they won last week, didn't they? Or did they lose?
Washington?
Or were they off? And they were they lost to the Lions.
Yeah.
You know what?
They lost to the Lions on a last-second field goal and a mad comeback. They had a crazy comeback, and then
Alex. You know what? I'm gonna take Washington. I'm gonna give you a game, another difference game.
Hey, you know what? I want to watch that Dolphins Broncos game because I want to see what Tua's all about.
I'm taking the Dolphins that game. I'm also taking the Chargers.
We're not there yet.
Chargers versus Jets is next. I'm taking the Chargers.
Should we just list all the Jets games and just pick whoever they're playing against?
I mean, I did pick the Jets against the Patriots, and I almost won.
That's true. Well, we don't talk about that. I'm also going.
How pissed would have you been if I took that W from you?
I would have, dude, this is what I'm saying. This is why I texted you and I said, "Are you a wizard?" Because every time you pick an underdog, the underdog wins. Also, Drew Lock isn't playing in that game against the Dolphins, is he?
No, he's hurt.
So who is it now? Brett Rippon?
I think so. They haven't named a starter, but yeah, he's out with a rib injury, I'm pretty sure.
Jesus.
So yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins versus the Broncos. It's the Vikings and Cowboys. What?
Minnesota's going to make the playoffs.
I believe it. I'm taking the Vikings in this. I know Rod's going to be pissed about it, but I'm taking the Vikings. I think Dalvin Cook's just going to run all over that horrible run defense.
Dalvin Cook had a bad week in fantasy, Shane, and I still didn't win.
No, Calvin Cook, like Kirk Cousins with a healthy and this is the thing that I think people forget. Tannehill can win a game by himself in Tennessee, realistically. You don't need Derrick Henry to win a game for Tennessee. You need Dalvin Cook to win games for Minnesota.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins can't win you a game without a running game. And Dalvin Cook is going to run all over this defense. You're going to see Thielen and Jefferson get some long bombs, some breakout plays. But I'm taking the Vikings on this. I think it's going to be a landslide.
This will be a great game for Neville Gallimore to prove his worth.
100%. Packers versus Colts. This one's an interesting one. It's in Indianapolis. I like what the Colts have been doing with the run game recently. Packers come out of a close one against Jacksonville. I think the Packers, it's hard to say early in the week on what happens. I'm going to take I want to take the Colts, but I think I'm going to go with the Packers on this one.
I'm taking the Colts here. And I think this is just the perfect storm for the Indianapolis Colts to kind of take over this division a little bit, even though I have the Titans winning. But that's a tough game for the Titans. But if you come out and you beat the Packers, and then again, what happens next week? Colts
Because they
Titans
play
again.
against each other. Yeah.
So if you're the Colts, like you need to win this game. If you're Indianapolis, and if you're Tennessee, you need to win that game.
100%. I just think the Packers, like, I don't see Aaron Rodgers struggling against that defense. I don't. I don't see it happening.
I
we
didn't
got
see
the
him
Chiefs,
struggling against the Bucs either, but
Chiefs versus Raiders.
the
This
Raiders
is
are
an
not
interesting
beating the
one.
Chiefs twice.
That's the thing. Raiders have already beat them. I got to take the Chiefs on this. I don't think you can beat the Chiefs twice in 1 year. And then we got our Monday night Bucks versus Rams. This is going to be an interesting one. This is going to be a very interesting one.
Again,
I'm going to go Bucks.
this is a game that no matter what, all those teams are 6-3 in that division, other than San
Something
Francisco.
like that. Something like
One
that,
of those
yeah.
teams is going to be 7-3 out of the Seahawks and the Cardinals. The Rams need this one.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Rams, but I just think the Bucks have finally started to find their stuff on offense. There is inconsistencies there, but I don't think it's enough to warrant. The Rams are so hit or miss on defense. I think Ramsey, like who is Ramsey's going to lock up what? Evans, okay, you have 8.
I mean, they held the Seahawks to 13 points?
Yeah, but realistically, they don't have a running game in Seattle. You know, Ramsey locked up Metcalf, and you force Lockett to win. You force Lockett to be the guy, and he just isn't. You know, okay, you're going to lock up Evans. They have Godwin and Brown and, you know, Gronk, Gronk and Howard. Like, they have so many weapons at their disposal. I don't see that defense being able to hold up against the Bucks offense.
I'm taking the Rams anyway.
I'm taking the Bucks. It's going to be interesting. I think we have 4 games, 4-game difference, 4 or 5 games difference.
No, it's more than that.
One.
So Texans, Patriots, Titans, Ravens, Washington, Cincinnati, Colts, Packers,
5 games. Yeah, 5 games. So we got 5 games. I am 6 games ahead, so you won't catch me this week. If you do go 5-0, don't see that happening. So I'll have at least.
I'll probably be down by more games this week.
I'll at least have a 1-game lead heading into week 12. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But that's our picks. Let us know what you think is gonna happen this weekend. But you know, we've run over our hour and a half time slot, just like how Rod ran over his half-hour time.
Not quite as bad. We've run over it by 15 minutes. He ran over it by an hour.
Yeah, and I mean, we've run over our time by quite a bit usually. Thank you guys for listening. For myself and Frankie, it's a pleasure doing this. We'll be back on with a brand new episode next Tuesday. We go live. 7:30 is the new time, 7:30 to 9 or later, depending on how it goes on. 7:30 to 9 minimum. You can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Remember to follow us on all 3 of those so you're up to date on all new 13th Man stuff, as well as on Instagram at 13th Man Pod. And you follow myself, Shane_Ryan97, Frankie at HPR_Frankie13. And remember, we do have other podcasts going on. I have my Sens Hour podcast, part of the Hockey Podcast Network, covering the Ottawa Senators, Sens_Hour. Released episodes Monday and Thursday. Frankie has his Hockey Podcast Report, HPR_podcast on Twitter, Facebook.
We just dropped a banging reverse retro jersey episode. If you didn't hear my reaction to the Leafs one, it's great. It's a good reaction, I'd say.
Yeah, so we got that going. I'm going live tomorrow on Wednesday at 4:00 with Derek, my co-host for that one. Remember, guys, Christmas is around the corner. We got a Redbubble page. Check it out. All our links are on our website and whatnot. We got new fall merch. If you're interested in, for per purchase of $125 or more, free shipping, and you get a free mask. Anything under $125, you get a free mask. Over $125, you get 2 free masks. So definitely check it out. Let us know what you want. We'll get that out to you before Christmas. And yeah, I think that's all we have. Thank you, Rod, for coming on. You can check his show out. Rod Pedersen he's on Facebook Live, Game TV, to name a few. He's on Twitter, Rod Pedersen Show, Instagram, Facebook. Is that all for you, Frankie?
That's it.
Sweet. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to to follow us, subscribe on YouTube, share if you like the episodes, rate, comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we'll get better. Hopefully we'll be talking about CFL this time next year. Grey Cup Unite, definitely keep an eye out for it. Hopefully we'll have it next year. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you later. Stay safe. Wear a mask.